overnight hours with low temperatures dropping into the mid upper 50s. For your day on Friday, expect partly sunny skies, breezy conditions with just a few showers in the afternoon, cooler with highs in the upper 60s. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Craig Zybert.
Sometimes life can be overwhelming. Crisis Text Line can help. If you're struggling and feel like you can't talk to anyone about it, text 4HOPE to 741741. Free confidential support. Crisis Text Line. Text 4HOPE to 741741 now.
Well, all right. So it's Thursday, News Radio 570 WQEN, and you know what that means. Thursday means we do The Legal Show, 30-plus year tradition on News Radio 570 WQEN. The Legal Show from 5 to 6 on this Thursday, as always. And we set forth with a team of lawyers, some of the best around, obviously, to solve any legal questions you might have. So when I say legal questions, what do I mean? I mean child supports, divorce, custody issues. I mean wills, trusts, estate questions, workers' comp questions about auto accidents, dog bites, speeding tickets, about anything that's contractually you might have a problem with. Well, we answer all of those questions on this legal show, and we try to solve your problem, and we don't send you a bill. Or we certainly try to point you in the right direction. So I say to each and every one of you, this is the hour brought to you by Beatrice Cop. If you got any legal questions or problems or an inquiry that you would like to make, call us right now. We only have an hour. 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977. Once again, 330-729-9977. I have two lines in Youngstown open for our lawyers tonight. And if you'd like to get on board at the beginning of the broadcast, it's the best time, because towards the end of the broadcast, we simply run out of time before we run out of calls or got to move along much quicker than we'd like to. Try to answer your question to the best of our abilities. So if you got a legal question, issue, or problem, 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977. Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Cop. Let's go to the law firm, and let's see. We always like to see if the star, the one and only, the best family law attorney around, the one and only Mark DeVecchio, back from a long Italian vacation, should be with us. Mark,
yes, hello. I'm back. Hello, Ron. Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
It's always great to have you here, and we missed you when you were on your excursion, and I loved when you were talking about it prior to the break that we've had, when you're talking about all of those Vinny and Guido and everything like that. It seemed like a movie to me for a minute, Mark.
Yes, it was. It certainly was like a movie. It was. Yeah. There were moments when I thought I stepped into the Francis Ford Coppola movie.
Absolutely. And the best pizza you've ever had. And that's big coming from Mark DeVecchio. Okay, Mark, now sitting at the round table, joining you tonight, who do we have?
Ladies and gentlemen, leading off, we have attorney Frank Cassis, followed by
Frank Cassis, ladies and gentlemen. Frank, welcome as always. I hope his mic works good. Frank, welcome.
Glad to be here, Ron. Thank you.
And batting cleanup, we have attorney James Melfi.
What's going on, Ron?
Attorney Melfi, always nice to hear your voice as well. All right, so we got the A-team working tonight. Let's see. I think that's all we need. We're not missing anybody.
That's all we need. That's you. You have all you need tonight, Ron.
That's right. Well, gentlemen, we shall get underway here and see what awaits us tonight. Glad you all could join us. We appreciate it as always. We got an hour of you guys answering questions, and let's get underway with our first caller. You're on the air with our lawyers tonight. Hello.
Yes, I have a question about wills.
Yes.
A friend of mine recently passed. He was on his second marriage. He married a woman that was on her second marriage. They each had one child and two grandchildren. Well, he has died, and the stepmother is saying to my friend's daughter that she cannot find the will. My question is this: is there any way you can access it? It's been registered, and it was written by the UAW Legal. But of course, they won't deal with her because she's not a UAW employee. So is there any way you can access the will without the stepmother's
I mean,
permission, I guess is?
If it was, I wonder if it was filed with probate court. If it was filed, then there would be no problem. I would contact the UAW, get a certified copy of the death certificate, forward it to them.
Well,
and-
she's already done that, and they won't deal with her. They said because she's not an active employee and she doesn't have an open file.
Yeah, but she could be the executor or the executrix of the will, which would make it her a necessary
She's not,
party.
The stepmother is.
Well, can't the stepmother then call him as the
Well,
executor?
that's the thing. She's trying to think that the stepmother is trying to secret things away from her.
Well, there is a problem there, because when he remarried the new woman, it does. If she's the surviving spouse,
Yeah.
so that creates a problem for the daughter unless the will's explicit. So I think maybe you could go to probate court and file some kind of a will contest and ask that it be produced. Maybe even get a subpoena
Right.
to the UAW.
Yeah. There's has to be.
Turn that mic up. I can barely hear you. You're talking, Frank. You gotta
Yeah.
get close to the mic or something.
Can you hear me better now?
Better, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll just keep it. So yeah, there's a procedurally a mechanism that would have to be at least the probate court. If there is in fact a will on file, I'm certain that there's a way to get that will in front of the probate court, because they always want to honor the wishes of whoever would have passed away. And if they do in fact have a will, you're going to want to follow the will. Now, if he dies intestate, that's a different story.
And I think what he means is when he said it was
we're
registered,
certain that
it's
he
filed.
had a will. It's just that
All right, now, now hang on, caller. Just so I get this straight. All right, so you're saying the guy that died, you're certain he had a will, correct?
yes.
All right, and it's with the UAW. I mean, she's saying we can't find our copy of it, but you're certain the UAW has a copy of it, or whoever did it?
Well, I had my will written there too, and they want you to register in town. I have a receipt or in the courthouse, so I assume they did that for him also.
Well,
That's what I'm
That
saying.
they-
If
you know, they
you're
made
saying
him
it's
register.
you're saying it's registered,
It should
which
be at
means
the
it's on
court.
file with the probate court.
Or the clerk of courts.
what county?
What county?
Mahoney.
All right.
Mahoning.
So what you need to do is go down to the clerk of courts in Mahoning County and see if it is on file. I mean, if the UAW did it, it likely is on file.
Give the deceased name, date of birth, social, if you have it, any information that can help them. And
See if it's on file.
if it's on file, they'll have it. If
Well, let
not,
me just say one more thing. She went down there, and they said that the stepmother, the spouse, would have to apply for this, and it would be $100 fee.
well, that's a
So I don't
small.
know whether she has any rights or not.
I mean,
So-
that's a small
So you
price to
take-
pay. If it's $100 fee to get
No,
the
it would
will.
be if they would give it to her, sure.
Well, she needs to go do that then. I mean, if those are the rules, those are the rules. I mean, let me
Well,
just
I'm not saying that that's not the rule. I'm just saying
sit
that they
tight for
didn't
a
want to give
second.
it to her. They wanted the wife to.
Just
do
sit
that.
tight and hang on. Guys, let's say we can't find a will. Mark, just for a second. He died, and let's say you can't find a will. What happens then? I mean, how would the
Dies
stuff be
intestate.
divided up?
Yeah, then according to law, if there's no will, he would be deemed to have died intestate without a will,
Surviving
and it would go
spouse.
along. It would go to the surviving spouse and along bloodlines.
Yeah.
But the surviving spouse stands at the front of the line,
Yes.
which would hurt the children from the previous marriage.
Sure.
But they would be entitled to something, would they not, from the previous marriage? His blood children would get something.
Right, but the first in line is the surviving spouse.
Yeah, but
And I think
help me with my thinking. Wouldn't the surviving spouse only get 50%?
They
Wouldn't
get
the
the.
other
I think they.
50%
and
go to the kids?
No, so actually, I think they get. And don't quote me on this. I'd have to look at it, but I think the number is the initial. It might be like an initial 80%, and then it gets divided equally. The surviving spouse will take a chunk of that, for certain.
All right, which is his new wife.
Yes. Yeah. So unfortunately, the children from his original marriage would be second in line, and they would take a lesser portion of whatever he had when he passed.
All right, if it's left up to the court and they can't
Exactly. Now, but it sounds like that he did a will. So I mean, I don't. Hopefully, that's not the issues that he has. I think it's probably more along the lines of, if he's done this before and they've filed it with the probate court, hopefully it's filed with the probate court, and you start there.
Let me ask the caller a question. Does the guy have beneficiaries on bank accounts, checking accounts? I mean, is there
Well,
stuff
see,
that
that's
would
what
avoid
that's
probate
what
court?
she doesn't know. She doesn't know what the will stated. Whether
I'm
it
not
was,
asking
you
you
know,
about the will. I'm
Yeah, that
asking
would be
you
outside
about
of the will.
on the bank accounts. Did he have beneficiaries if he died? On his checking account, on his bank accounts, there's things outside of a will where you
Life
have
insurance policies.
Yeah.
right. Well, see, that's a question I can't answer, and it's very difficult to
All right.
call in for someone.
All right.
No, I can't answer that.
All right, so
They need a lawyer, don't you think, guys?
They
Absolutely.
do. I mean, a quick, just scratching the surface. It looks like the spouse would inherit the first $20,000 plus 1/2 of the balance, and the descendants would inherit everything. Inherit everything else. So, there is a mathematical
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah, and
If
if
he
something
dies
goes
intestate.
initially to the spouse, to the surviving spouse, like right off the top.
First 20,000,
Yeah.
and then half of the balance, and the remainder would go to the child.
All right. Good luck. It's just a mess. You're on the air. Hello. Line 2. Oh, wait a minute. I got to punch it. Hello there. You're on the air.
Hi, Ron. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
My daughter and her husband bought a house in Columbus. They had it inspected. Inspector said everything looks really good, just needs flashing around the chimney. So when they called a guy to do the flashing around the chimney to give him a price, he said, I can't even go up on the roof to look at it. My son-in-law said, why? And he says, because I could see from here your roof is bad. I'll fall through it. And he said, the inspector said it was good. He said it was a new roof. So
I think it's time to get
So
another
they,
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they call another
Well,
roofer?
yeah, he called the realtor, and then the realtor said, I'll send a guy out that I know. And that realtor said, nope, bad. He says, the roof, he says, you can't go up there. He said, I could see it's warped from here. He said, that's a bad roof.
That's going to
So,
fall on the inspector.
Yeah,
They had a guy.
Let
They
him
had a
finish.
guy come out and fix it, and he said if they would have lit a fire in that fireplace, he said the house would have burned down. So could they? Well, they did check on if they could sue the inspector, and they said you'll just get your $200 back that you paid him to inspect. Does that sound right?
Not necessarily true. If the house passed inspection and the roof was bad, and they had to buy an entirely new
fireplace.
roof.
well, but you can't. The law doesn't allow for hypotheticals, so they go off of real damages. The real damages are, all right, the inspector missed the roof problem, but it was caught before the purchase, and the roof was fixed. So
But what did it cost to fix the roof? Did you need a brand new roof, or just one portion was screwed up?
No, the one portion, and they had it fixed after they had already purchased the house.
So what was the
They-
cost? Like
when
the
they purchased the
approximation
house,
of?
they thought it had a new roof and a new chimney. And he said the chimney, not only the roof, but the chimney needed rebuilt. He said your house would have caught on fire. And
So you could go after the
Those were-
inspector.
So right. So whatever they had to pay out of pocket to fix whatever he missed, he would be liable for if he in fact inspected it and stands. But you're going to need these roofers and whoever did the chimney to give
Expert opinion.
Yeah, they're going to have to pen a report that says it was structurally it wasn't sound, and this is why they had to replace it.
Let me ask you a question,
Oh.
just real quick to this gentleman. When the house was inspected, and this is important for you to know and answer honestly, many times inspectors do not get on the roof, particularly if it's a 2-story house. And it's in their report that they don't get on the roof, or it's wintertime and they don't get on the roof. Are you certain in his report that he got on the roof and inspected the roof?
in his report, and this is only going with my daughter on the paper that they had, he said the roof and the chimney was good. It was practically new.
All right.
So that's what they went on.
All right.
So I
One-
don't know if he
all right.
actually got on the roof.
All right.
One other follow-up question: did he inspect it in the wintertime, or was it a time when you could get on a roof? Do you know?
No, it was a time that he could have got on the roof. Yeah.
All right. I'm just
But-
saying because
And
many,
even from the ground, these 3 different roofers said you could see it from the ground.
It's
when
gonna
I
come
went
down
over
to the
there, I couldn't
report.
see it. So where is it?
It's going
Okay.
to come down to the report that the inspector wrote.
I mean, the bottom line is your daughter relied on this report to her detriment.
Right.
She purchased the house relying
Okay.
on the inspector. And when it was determined the roof was bad, they had to spend money to get it fixed. I think we all concur here that the inspector has some liability because there was detrimental reliance on his report.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you
Okay,
one
so
other
it's not-
question. Just hang on a second, caller. And
Yeah,
I want you guys to
okay.
consider this, and from a legal standpoint, maybe there's more than the inspector that is at fault here. Could the realtor and the seller, but perhaps the seller lied on the disclosure forms and put it was a new roof and it wasn't a new roof? I don't know that it's just the inspector. I think the seller has a duty to say if the roof is faulty and the fireplace is faulty.
If
What
the
did they know?
If the seller knows.
Yeah.
If the seller knows,
but you
if
would
it's
have
a-
to prove that a seller knew.
I mean, if it's a
True.
latent defect,
Right.
I mean, if it's if you can't see it with the naked eye, if you have to get up
But
on
you
the roof
can.
or look under
The
things.
question is it concealed?
Right.
Because we see these all the time in the Florida cases, especially after the Surfside collapse. All of the laws have changed of what these big high-rise condos have to do to be up to code. And there's a lot of litigation on non-disclosure cases. They're not disclosing that HOAs are raising fees because they need to get these buildings up to code, or they're not disclosing concealed defects in their disclosures are just people are saying, yeah, roof's fine.
So you'd
building's
have to
fine.
go to the disclosure
Well, I mean,
report.
Yeah, but Attorney Melfi, would you not agree that when you would list your home and you fill out that report,
You have to be honest.
perhaps perhaps they knew, but visually seeing that the fireplace, did they light a fire in it? Did the house burn down? Did they know they had a roof problem? I mean, they potentially have some litigation against them as well.
Yes, they do, and they potentially
Let me just
do.
ask you this. They have litigation against potentially the sellers as well as the real estate agent and company that have insurance, as well as the inspector.
Right, and I'll tell
Totally
you,
agree.
I'll tell you this though, and I've had a very similar case. My clients are being sued on a non-disclosure, and in these agreements, especially with realtors, damages are limited to only the portion of the commission that they received by selling the home. So
And let's not forget that it's still the governing principle is caveat emptor. So if they list on the disclosure that it's a 30-year-old roof, and we all know that roofs lifespans are 20 years, that it's 10 years beyond its lifespan, you're effectively put on notice that you got to look closer at that roof.
Right. And is that,
But look at the disclosure form and see how they listed it first.
Correct.
yeah, I mean, that's what it goes to, the disclosure form and then the inspector's report. I mean, that's where you start with.
So go get the disclosure form when they bought the house and look at how it was listed, and you might sue the people who sold it as well as the inspector. Okay.
Okay, so they just don't get their 200 back. Then they have to get the money back that they had to put now into building a new chimney and a roof, right? Part of the roof.
Potentially, if everything falls your way.
Yes.
If they took
Okay.
liberties with the
All right.
disclosure,
Yeah.
then that's the good start.
If everything's as black and white as you're explaining it, then yeah, it would sound to us that they would have good claims against the inspector, potentially the seller, potentially the realtor. But that's how it's being presented right now. It also really, that's why I say to you, it
Right.
depends on what that report says.
Yeah, there are things that could undercut,
Right.
your windfall.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so just get an attorney, right?
I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your.
right.
Good luck, sir.
Hey guys, I think Melfi was spot on in that exchange. I just got to give him kudos. All right.
hey, thanks, Ron.
We agree.
No, I mean, how many people lie on those disclosure forms? They do it all the time. They know the basement's wet and they paint it and say it isn't wet. They try to hide it. And conceal
That
it.
happens all
Well,
the time.
That
they
happens a
listed it.
lot.
I think it would be harder to hide a roof only because you probably have a paper trail.
And what you see a
Yeah,
lot
but
too
did
is they
say,
do.
well, it's a new.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
new
I don't
roof
know.
or
I mean, you'd
something.
have to read it. That's kind of what I'm getting at. If they say, "Oh, this is a brand new roof," and clearly not, you're in trouble.
Right. Or that they said, well, we didn't know any problems and you can see it sagging from the
Yeah.
ground.
No,
I
for
mean,
sure.
Come on.
Yep.
All right. All right. Just throw some flowers Melfi's way once in a while, Frank. Is that?
Listen, he's my guy. Don't worry about that.
All right. All right, I'm just checking. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth with you guys. Hey, Melfi, I'm working for you. All right, you're on the air. Legal Show. Hello.
Hello, is that me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, thanks, Ron and counselors, for taking my question. My daughter had bought a house in Hubbard Township. It's been going on almost 2 years. Well, it's a little over 2 years. Okay, when they inspected the house, the only thing that they could come up with is the water was running a little slow when they would drain the tub and flush the toilet and other things. Okay, so there was always like a odor in the basement, like sewer odor.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter had called actually one of your sponsors that's on WKBN to come and take care of, see what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they went into the clean out, and when they went into there, they tried to run a snake through it to where it ran out to the city sewage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the snake, they couldn't get it through. Then they brought in a what they call a jet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To clean the line.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, but I can see what happened is it was clogged with oil and grease,
Mm-hmm.
and the oil seemed to be motor oil.
Mm-hmm.
Now these people had worked on cars and stuff in the garage, and I think what it looks like they were doing was dumping the motor oil into the city sewage.
Mm-hmm. And it clogged the sewer line?
Oil, pardon me?
And it clogged the line?
Yeah. It took it way down from, it's a 6-inch line, and they could only get it open like 1.5 inches.
All right, now here's my here's my question: do they shove a camera down there so they could visually see? I'm assuming.
Yes,
all right.
Yes, they did that.
All right.
They did that,
and
they said it's oil and grease.
All right. So what do they want to do? Put a new line in?
No, what they wanted to do is they got it cleared as far as they could to where outside of the home, and they wanted to put a T in with a clean out and try to clean it from there out to the road to where the sewer is.
Right. Okay.
It's going to be anywhere from $3,000 to $3,500 to do this.
All right.
Does she have any recourse?
Hang on for a second. Just bear with me. Hang on a minute. It's all right. We got to pause for our headlines, and we'll get back to him. Interesting calls tonight. News Radio 570 WKBN, and we'll come back and address his issue. Our lawyers are here till 6 tonight.
Click this link now to review my bank transfer. I didn't make
With our attorneys on News Radio 570 WQAM. Caller, before I hook you back up with our attorneys, just a couple of quick questions. Do you know if the sewer line, is it made of clay pipe or is it a PVC pipe? Do you know?
PVC.
It's a PVC. Okay, I just want to make clear. So that it's not the old clay pipes. It's a PVC pipe going from the house to the road, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and just bear with me. And you're saying if they run a snake through it, they can't open it up any more than 1.5 inches tops, correct?
1.5 inches, most they can get through. Yes.
All right, and that's even if you tee it off, it's 1.5 inches. Well, don't you think, I'm going to just ask you a question, I'll turn you over to the lawyers.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't know if it's oil or what, but I've heard of people having this problem because people flush supposedly these baby wipes that are flushable, and they're not. I mean, some of the stuff that people flush down a toilet clogs these PVC lines, you know, whether that's, let's say, cooking oil or, you know, Crisco and that kind of stuff that people put down there, or not necessarily motor oil, or these wipes that they put down, or paper towels or whatever. And it clogs the line. What good is it to hire anybody that's going to open it up 1.5 inches on a 6-inch line? It's just going to clog again and cause you problems. Aren't you better off? I'm just asking. Bear with me. Aren't you better off finding whatever company that'd dig the whole line up from the house to the street and put a new 6-inch line in so that you have the problem solved?
Well, the company that came out that did the work said he has never seen nothing like this.
Mm-hmm.
He said it is definitely motor oil.
Right. Okay, but
that has built up over the.
I got you. I understand it. But if you can only open the line up 1.5 inches, what good is it? Don't you need it to be wider than that for sewage and things to go through so it doesn't clog again? I'm just asking you.
It's a 6-inch line.
Yeah.
But they were open it up enough to get it to where it went out to the to the outside of the home.
All right, but listen, I'm not trying to be disgusting with you, but when you flush the toilet and human waste and toilet paper goes down, do you think 1.5 inch line is going to clog pretty quick with that going down?
It sure is.
So
yes,
what good is it in fixing the line as opposed to digging it up and replacing it totally so that it functions properly? I'm just trying to say, is it worth throwing $3,000 after something that's just going to be an ongoing problem as opposed to digging down and replacing it all?
Ron?
Well, my question was, I don't believe that it is legal to dump motor oil into a sewage system. And
but
it should, that's causing this problem.
But she bought it 2.5 years ago.
You would spend more money on lawyers trying to prosecute that claim than you would by just replacing it, like Ron's saying.
And we have another concern. You indicated when you inspect the house, you smelled the smell coming from the basement. So if you smell a peculiar smell, then that would put you on notice that something's wrong. Something's wrong. Well, so it's not an open and shut case for you. You're going to spend more on lawyers litigating than you are going to replace it. So it's probably the most practical thing. Get it replaced. Save your receipts. Maybe take them to small claims court.
Yeah, I would see what it costs. The difference between opening that line 1.5 inches or whatever they said they can do it, and to Ron's point, or just getting it replaced. And it doesn't.
It's a 6-inch line.
Right. Well, you got to dig down and put a new one in. I mean, they do it all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen to what they're telling you. They're saying to litigate this will cost you more than to fix the problem, and to fix it to 1.5 inches is going to be an ongoing problem.
You're just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
What about?
Go ahead.
What about if it would take a sample to the EPA?
What does that do?
This has been going on for years, apparently.
Yeah, but they're gone. They sold it to you. They left.
It doesn't.
You sat on it for 2.5 years, which doesn't
help you.
It's not a benefit to you by waiting 2.5 years.
And then you got to prove it, and there's going to be doubt and all this. I would think, wouldn't you guys?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Whoever brings the suit has the burden of proof.
So listen to what the attorneys are saying. It's a litigious thing that's going to cost you more, but and other callers can call, but it doesn't make sense to me, sir, on a 6-inch line, open it up 1.5 inches when you're flushing a toilet with toilet paper and human waste. It's just going to clog again. My question to you would be, if they ran a camera, are they sure that line isn't broke, or there's something clogging it? Because it doesn't make sense. I mean, if they run it all the way down, are they certain that there isn't a broken part of that line? It doesn't make sense to me why you can't snake it and clean it out and push that through.
As far as they could see, that it was there was no breaks in the line. It was just build up from the grease and the oil.
All right.
I think that they can probably clean it with, if they put a T in from the outside and go from there out to the street.
All right.
Out to the sewage line in the street.
Well, you know what they say when it comes to medical issues, and it's something you might want to think. I'll get a second opinion. All right. All right. No, it's a good idea. Would you not agree, guys? Get a second opinion.
Absolutely.
On something that's on a project that's going to be this massive.
Yes.
I mean, if you open a line, I would ask this to Frank. Frank, if they open that line 1.5 inches, and let's say I go to Chipotle for lunch and I stop over at their place, do you think that 1.5 inch line is going to clog within 30 minutes after I flush the toilet?
I think it would. I think it
Frank.
would.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my Frank is an expert witness for me, if you will, with his restaurant experience. And,
sure. And it especially depends on what you eat at Chipotle.
Right. Well, I'm known as the salad shooter once I get done there, just so you know. All right. All right, guys, you're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Go ahead, please.
Your sense of humor is awesome. A guy buys a house and hires a contractor to fix up the house and opens up the garage. First time in here, opens up the garage and finds items in the garage, promises those items to the contractor as part of payment, and the work goes on. Months go by, neighbor comes over and is discussing things and says, well, that thing that's in that garage belongs to my dad. We'd like to, when you get that garage open, we'd like to get it. But this property has been already promised. We've been there for months now and want to know if they have any legal
bona fide purchaser, right?
Yeah.
The property was bought. I'm sorry?
You're a bona fide purchaser. And that property was left by the seller.
It was purchased in good faith.
Yeah.
If they have some indicia of ownership, I mean, if they could prove it belongs to them.
But then, even if then, did they abandon it?
I think it's abandoned.
Yeah. I mean, you sold the house, you left it there. It's months went by.
What type of what product is it? I mean, is it titled, or what type of product do you have in there?
It's a trailer. It's a trailer that was left, no license plate on it. It's just a generic looking trailer.
And when you say trailer, just bear with me. One you would take camping, or one that you'd put a piece of equipment on? What type of trailer?
Yeah, you can put lawnmowers on it and travel with the equipment and stuff like that.
All right. So there's usually a weight certificate or something that shows ownership on a trailer, right? Is there a plate on it?
No.
Okay. So the guys.
No plate. And what I was wondering is, because once we get that thing out of here, once we get ready to move it, I don't want the neighbors coming over and saying, "Hey, that's mine," and then we end up in an argument. I'm just trying to avoid all the arguments.
Well, the abandonment laws are pretty clear. How long was it left on your property without your permission?
Couple months.
Well, the house was just purchased several months back now, almost a year. I've been working on this house. But as far as what I understand, that trailer has been in there for years.
And what did your purchase agreement say? Did it say the property and contents? Was it excluded?
No, it's clear title. Everything is.
Well, no, what I mean is you signed a purchase agreement for the property. Did it say, the real property and its contents, or did it specifically exclude the trailer? I'd go back and look at your contract.
No, it didn't exclude anything like that. We bought the house and the everything on it, the grass. We bought everything.
All right. So the question is once the house was purchased by you and it was your house, how long was that trailer in your possession, in your garage?
Ever since we bought it.
Okay.
How long-
Give me a time.
What's the time period? Don't say ever since you bought it. How long have you owned it?
About 8 months.
Okay.
Oh, that's great evidence to support
Yeah,
abandonment.
It's abandoned.
You're good. I mean, for some motor vehicles, it's 48 hours. In Ohio, there's no real hard law with other miscellaneous property left on your property. But if no claim has been made, nothing's paid for storage, they haven't come for it in 8 months, I say you have a great case.
Yeah, and I mean that's not to say that you may not catch a headache from this, that he's not going to try to get it back, but I think you're on solid ground.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Good enough. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yep.
There,
Yes,
there
sir.
you go. I mean, it could. I mean, if the guy can produce some type of receipt for it, or a
Well, but
previous
that's the bona fide
registration of a plate or something.
yeah, but you still have a pretty good argument that you were a bona fide purchaser. You were not privy with the person that left that stuff there. You didn't allow them to have it on your property. You purchased the property. It's yours. They don't have your permission to have it there. And if it's 8 months,
Yeah, they left it there, and I think that's what Jimmy's point was. Check the purchase agreement.
That's
What
like
does it
coming
say?
back and saying, I want the couch that was included in the house purchase that was my dad's. I
Right.
mean,
No, it doesn't. Yeah. I think he's okay.
Mhm. All right, or maybe the guitar that my
Those are
former,
those are coming with
house
me.
band guy
Never
left.
leave him.
Those are
Oh,
coming
yeah.
with me, Ron. Those are the babies.
his Eddie Vedder guitar's coming with him.
I'm just checking. You know what I mean? I'm trying to check it out. You're on the air with their attorneys tonight. The Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Cop. Welcome. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, is it me, Ron?
Yes. What's your question?
Okay, in Pennsylvania, if you have a dog in a car in a parking lot, the windows are down enough to get air in there. You have water in the car for the dog. Somebody with a big nose calls the police department, and the police comes over and threatens to arrest you for felony parking. Is this something that I don't know about yet?
In
How hot
Pennsylvania,
was it outside?
It was today. Yeah, it's rather cool today, cloudy. The air conditioning does not work in this vehicle, but the windows were down far enough so the dog could not get out of the skate. There was water left for the dog. They got a water dish in there with water for the dog the whole bit. And somebody heard the dog barking. The dog has separation anxiety. If this owner gets out of the car, no matter if it's full of people, that dog is going to go nuts.
All right. Let
And
me.
because the owner went into the grocery store, somebody heard the dog, called the police. The police showed up and admonished the owner of the car and the dog that they were going to be arrested for felony parking.
Did they arrest him or did they just warn him?
So far, it's just a warning. They took the information from the owner and driver, the whole bit, and they said that if they get another report of this, they're going to be arrested for felony parking. I didn't know, except for vehicular homicide, a vehicle code violation, that is a felony.
I
And
think
is this on private property? Obviously,
It
the
was
grocery store.
in a parking lot of a grocery store.
All right, go ahead, guys.
in Pennsylvania, there isn't a statewide law that explicitly prohibits leaving dogs in cars under all conditions. However, there are animal cruelty laws that could be applicable.
Right.
So I guess it depends on the circumstances. If the car is ventilated, as you said, if there's water, if it wasn't going to be for a long duration, then I'd say you would escape any kind of animal cruelty penalties because there's no law prohibiting leaving your dog in the
Right.
car.
And I'm not certain I've ever heard of felony parking either, but I'm not sure.
I think that was just
Yeah, I think
intimidation.
the cop was just overreaching a little bit, the policeman or woman. Please.
But you have to put the welfare, the well-being of the animal first.
Yeah, but that's animal cruelty.
It only becomes a
Right.
felony if they die or
Yeah, there is Ohio. There's I actually tried one of
I
those.
know.
So I mean, there is felonies in Ohio for animal cruelty, but I don't know that that would warrant it if the dog didn't die, if the window was open, if it was a short period of time and there was water in the car. I don't even know that they have enough to charge you, to be honest.
Okay, guys, that's exactly what I wanted to know, and thank you, Counselors. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. And it's like when all of us are gathered over at Swenson eating hamburgers and we got the windows up listening to rock music, right, guys? We're not hurting anybody. You're You're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, what's your question, please?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the attorneys. I have a piece of property and it's on a cul-de-sac, and there's 2 vacant homes next to me. And for 9 months out of the year, they're vacant. You know, the people that owned it have passed away. Their kids live out of state. And in the summertime, they come home and to this area, and they don't cut the grass. It's like that. I've been cutting over, trying to keep the weeds and everything out of my yard. So is there, I know there was something on your show before about if you cut a lawn for so many years or so much time that could be your property or not. I mean, it's a vacant lot on one side and a home on the other side.
At 9 months, you're not even close.
No.
Adverse possession is 26 years. So it has to be open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, and notorious. So if these people come back 3 months out of the year and they exert ownership in the house, it starts the clock all over again. So you really don't have an adverse possession argument.
What area do you live in? What community, sir?
I live in Austintown.
All right. So if these are vacant lots are like that, perhaps, I'm just saying, close to your home, contact Darren at the zoning office, and I'm sure that they will deal with it. I mean, he's excellent in zoning for the township, and they will they'll send out they'll take care of it.
Yeah, that's your better course of action.
Put a fee on the owner of the property. They got a great guy.
Okay.
They got the brush hog that's out. But call Darren at zoning and tell him what the issue is. If he doesn't know already, he might already know.
Oh yeah, I mean, other neighbors have called and said, hey, it's a field over here. The neighborhood looks, trashy. They got stuff behind the house. It's all tarped over, and it just looks like.
What street? What street are you on? What street? Yeah.
I'd rather not say, Ron.
I can appreciate that, but do me this. I can tell you can solve this problem. You got to call the right person. You got to call the zoning office. And talk to Darren. He's in charge of zoning in the township, and you tell him what the issue is, and he will deal with it. I can assure you that.
All right.
All right.
I appreciate that information. Thank you.
Thank you. You're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Hello, 550.
Yes, how you doing? Hey, we're running out of time, so I'll wait till next Thursday to bring my other.
No, you can bring it up. Go ahead. We want to solve everybody's problems.
No. I just want to say, you had a guy call. How do you buy a house with a trailer in the garage and you don't ask who owns it? I'm saying this. You all didn't question him like that. You got a trailer in your garage and you don't ask who does this trailer belong to? I hope he's listening. That's his fault.
You know what, caller?
He's the one that purchased the house.
You'd be surprised with people leaving their houses to sell it and to move on. Sometimes, I mean, from pool tables to pianos to, collections of some kind or another.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you want that trailer?
Yeah, that's big time right there.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. So what if they left it there? It's yours.
He's listening. That's the owner's fault that purchased the house. That's all I want to say. I love you guys when you come on Thursdays, but sometimes I hear some people just call and I have to shake my head at them. That's all.
It's a fair question. It's fair for him to say.
It is, absolutely.
You're looking at the house,
yeah,
and you say, "Well, whose trailer is this?" And get it the hell out of here. I'm going to buy them.
It's a common sense question for
you
sure.
know what, though? Just hypothetically, just to throw this out there, you see the house, you see the trailer in the garage. It's abandoned. Everything's for sale. They're selling everything. There may be some contents in the house. You like some of the contents of the house. There was a building downtown that went up for sale, and they sold the contents separately. And there was an original pinball machine from like 1915 in the contents. So you might make an offer based on the contents and include the contents in the purchase. And then I would say that person's protected. That's their trailer.
A pinball machine from 1915. Did they even have pinball in 1915?
It was a prototype, and there were 15 of them. So the contents, and I happen to have firsthand knowledge. I don't want to get too detailed into this, but they wanted like $25,000 for the contents, and it was worth probably like $500,000.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
Really?
old movie posters because the theater was there for
Yeah.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So they had 1930s, 40s movie original posters, the contents, but they were all in boxes and covered with dust and dirt.
No one
Nobody
cared to
knew.
look through them.
Yeah. So somebody hit a home run.
Yeah, sure.
Wasn't the person I was hoping though.
Right. I mean, I remember when I bought some old house once, and the biggest find was a couple of old Hustler magazines. That was about it.
And they originally belonged to you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Stuck in the rafters, but I had to say to my wife, I don't know how these got here. All right, caller, you're on the air. Welcome to the Legal Show, 553. Hello.
Hi, Ron. How you doing?
Good. You have a question for the guys?
Yes, I do. I'd like to know when somebody steals your home from you by going illegally and transferring the mortgage and all that stuff or the title, and then they sell it. How come the person who bought the home isn't receiving stolen property?
Now, see, this is a great question because you guys have heard those commercials that they run all the time. You better have this protection, all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't really need that protection because the whole thing is a fraud to begin
Well,
with,
you're-
and I'm not to blame. Go
Frank's,
ahead.
Frank's the criminal guy, but I mean, in order to commit a crime, you have to have the actus reus and the mens reus.
You have to know it was stolen when you buy it.
Exactly.
Or
Or
receive it.
or you have to have a reasonable suspicion that it was
Right,
probably
sure.
stolen. So if they have there's no
They have
indication,
no idea that house was stolen, and which is, I'm not.
and I would never
suggesting how
suspect
did you
that
steal a
ever.
house. You know what I mean? So like, that's a tough one. It would really depends on the fact.
Unless
on
they're
the
selling a
facts of it.
$300,000 house for
So you're
$75,000
really,
cash.
You're really up against it. You can't get your home back. You have to leave.
Well, hang on a second. Hang on
No.
a second. Answer this question. You own the home, and they're not going to say, "Oh, well, because of this fraud, you no longer own the home." To
No.
the original.
Yeah,
owner.
you're a victim
You got to
of
give
crime.
us a little bit more.
The original homeowner that had his home stolen from him and subsequently sold is a victim of crime.
Yes.
And there are, in Ohio, there are places where a victim of crime could go and they would offer you protection. You could challenge the sale and say that it's not a valid sale.
But how did it happen?
Well, they run
I'm
these
just talking about.
commercials.
I'm just talking about when I see this stuff on these commercials on TV.
Oh.
How is this not receiving stolen property? How's that
Well,
legal?
a lot depends on. There's much more to it. If you know that it's stolen, then it is.
Yeah, if it's a $300,000 house and you get it for $50,000 cash, something sketchy's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's.
Well, then let me back up on his question. So, somebody, they call it title theft or whatever, that they do it. I don't care what happens. It's your home. And if somebody steals the title to it and sells it to someone else, it's still your home. They can't take your home from you.
I'm not leaving.
Right, because you own it.
And if
Right.
you're protected if you have a mortgage on it. So you're protected with a
Well,
mortgage.
even if you don't have a mortgage, you still
I
own
don't
it.
have a mortgage on it. That's been free and clear for years.
Yeah. I mean, in other words, his question is, he's a legal owner of a home. If somebody does this title theft stuff and steals his title and then sells the home to someone else,
and he could
he doesn't lose his home because he owns it. He didn't engage in it.
I agree. I mean, it's candidly, it's almost far-fetched to some degree. I mean,
I've never had one of those
yeah,
cases.
I've never seen that. So I'm not there. A good friend of mine just sent me a message and I'm laughing at it. She said, sometimes bad people do bad things. That's how this happens. And that's very true, but holy cow. That would be a scenario that I would,
I don't, if anyone's had that happen, I'd love to talk to them, but I think they're using scare tactics on these advertising campaigns to generate money, to get people to buy this insurance that, I haven't heard of it ever happening. So I'm sorry if I'm naive. I apologize.
No,
I'd like to talk to someone that it's happened to because I'd want to pick their brain.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
there's
I'm just getting my information from the television commercial.
right. And it wouldn't be the first television commercial to scare you into buying a product that you really might not need.
I haven't seen these commercials.
Yeah. Now, how is that? Thank you, caller. How is that different, let's say, from identity theft? I mean, somebody steals your identity.
Well, identity theft happens
probably
all
a
the
lot
time.
easier to get your identity than your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I can't even imagine how you go about it. I mean, I know people can do it because there are some devious people out there.
You would have to do a quitclaim deed,
But think of all the steps in between.
file it with the
Yeah,
clerk.
I mean,
and I would
what if
imagine
somebody
they
shows up at your house one day and you're out barbecue, and they said, "This is my house. I bought it." What the heck are you talking about?
Actually, I had one
Right.
case kind of similar to that where a guy showed up on somebody's property saying, this building and this house belongs to us. And the guy said, "Who are you?" And he said, "The Ohio Land Bank Association. You haven't paid property tax in 15 years."
Okay.
Oh, that's-
Well,
So-
those
All right,
types
but-
of things I can see. but
This sounds right out of
Right.
Catch Me If You Can.
yeah, I
You
mean,
need Frank Abagnale. to-
yeah, we're
Yeah.
this is getting like a movie script.
Now, before I end, how was the big concert that you did down at Mark?
Ron,
what do they call it down there?
you know, as I looked out into the crowd, I searched the crowd for your face and your smile. I was looking for Ron Verb for that support, that push I needed to put
Yes.
the performance right over the edge. I didn't see you. And then the rain clouds opened up and it rained during our set. But I do have to say this. The venue, the Youngstown Amphitheater, is the finest venue I've ever played. And I've played the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I played Cleveland Browns Stadium. That amphitheater is fabulous. That we in Youngstown are so lucky to have it. And it should be packed for every event that they have there because it was awesome.
All right, guys. We're out of time. Thank you, guys.
All right,
We're
Thank you.
brought to
See you,
by
Ron.
Beatrice Kopp every Thursday.
iHeartRadio celebrates the Tony Awards Sunday, June 16th.